add and subtract them together, that when we get to where we're at right now, it's gonna end up causing you even more problems. Does everybody have a copy of the notes? Okay, who's collecting for Matthew? Cooper's gone too?
He left.
Okay. All right, you're gonna get Matthew. Okay, anybody else?
Zane.
Yeah, that'll go down to him here in a minute. I'll leave that there. Okay, now then, find the GCF. You can do 1 through 6. Find the greatest common factor of 10 and 2. This is a review. You should know, and I can look at number 1 and say, well, I know that. Do I have anybody in the hallway? If so, tell them to come in. Who is?
Gabriel.
Okay, I need him in here. Somebody tell me, what's the greatest common factor between 2 and 10, Trenton?
5.
No, sir. What is the greatest common factor between 2 and 10, Joey? I mean, not Joey, Zoe.
2.
2. GCF is 2, I agree. What's the greatest common factor between 3 and 24? What is the biggest number that goes into both of them? That would be what, Reagan?
3.
Just checking factors here. Now, if you look at number 3, and you've got 9 and 27, and you just don't automatically have that greatest common factor jump out at you, what can you do to find it? This is a review. What can you do?
Divide 29 or 27. And then.
Well, that would work.
Well, what does 27? What does 9 times that equal 27?
Well, that works. That's true. She said, well, I look at it and I think, well, can I multiply 9 times anything to get 27? That's one way of doing it. Just a minute. Yes? Mm-hmm. He has been given everything that we have at this point because he has to wait for me to get done teaching math before he can watch the video. And he's got IXL that he can do. Or vocab, his math vocab. That's what he needs to do, his math vocab. Uh-huh, thank you. Okay, what can I do if I don't think of it the way that Kennedy? What could I do, Jill?
What's the factors of those numbers?
I could do a factor list between those numbers, and if I list it, I could say 1 and 9, and the other factors are 3 times 3, right? Are those the factors of 9? That'd be one way. What are the factors of 27? 1 and 27. What else? Will 2 go into 27?
No.
Will 3 go into 27?
Yeah.
3 and
3, 9.
3 and 9. Are those all the factors of 27? What's the greatest one that they have in common? That 9. Like I said, this is review. You should be able to do these. Okay, so I could list them. What's another tool I could use instead of listing them? Like 14 and 49. So I don't want to make the list. Maybe I want to try something different. Michaela?
You find all the ones in the lowest one, and then find the common factors of the lowest number, such as 14, and then you take the higher number and divide them by that.
No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that at all. What would I do? I could do prime factor trees. And 14, I've got 2 and 7. Do you agree? And on 49, prime factors, oh, and these are prime here for 14. I would have 7 and 7. Right? And so I could do my factor trees, and then I do the whole marry them up, okay? And I have a 7 here, and I have a 7 here, so that's 7. Do I have any other that they're the same on both trees? Nope. So this could be my GCF. That'd be another way. There's another way that you could do. And it's not one that you've done a lot, but honestly, it's probably one of the easiest ones there are. You know what I'm talking about, Gabriel?
No, it's the one where you I don't know how to explain it, but you test stuff out and then see if like it goes in.
How about
Ladder.
the factor ladder? How about the factor ladder? 24 and 42 are my numbers. What number can you think of that's going to go into both of those? What number? It doesn't have to be prime. Any number that you can think of will go into both of those. Ben?
6.
Ben says 6. And 6 times 4 is 24. And 7 times 6 is 42. Good. So what number goes into both the 4 and the 7? 1. That's as far as I can go. And 6 times 1 is 6, and that equals my GCF. I got 3 ways. You got to know at least one of them. Do number 6. What is my greatest common factor for number 6? What is the GCF of 50 and 90? What is that GCF, John? 10. Does the rest of the class agree with him?
Yes.
I do too. Good. This was a review. This you should know. Okay? Because it's going to affect what we do. Let's find out what we're going to... Now, today you will be factoring linear expressions. The goal today is you will factor linear expressions. And we know it's an expression because it does not have a
Equal sign.
equal sign. All right. Here's what it's telling us to do. Use factor 24x minus 18 using the GCF. When we're factoring, we're basically just undoing the distributive property. We're doing it backwards. We're undoing it. With the distributive, you multiply what's on the outside of the parentheses by everything on the inside. But when you undo it, you're going to divide everything by what we're going to put on the outside. Well, it says I have to use the GCF. So first of all, I've got to know the GCF of 24 and 18. What is the greatest common factor between 24 and 18? 24 and 18. What is that greatest common factor? Sophia. She says 6. So she says my GCF equals 6. Do we agree? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Okay. So now then, I look at my expression and I'm basically saying divide by 6, divide by 6. 6 comes out. What's left behind? What is 24 divided by 6? 4, and I've got to keep the x. And 18 divided by 6 is 3. And I stop right there. Because all it asked me to do was factor out the GCF. Okay? You're smiling. Is it because you get this, Riley? Good. I'm glad you do. Question?
I assume from the one, but why whatever like doing an algebraic expression would you do this?
Why would you ever factor out? Well, if you were trying to combine a large algebraic expression and you had to solve for it, sometimes you have to pull out what's there first. It's going to come a point where it's called you're going to be factoring polynomials, okay? And a polynomial could be, well, first of all, this is a polynomial. Now, what that means is what multiplied together creates that polynomial. So this is saying 6 times 4x minus 3 will give me this one. It's factoring the polynomial, okay? And sometimes you might end up with one that would be like, I'm trying to, because I want to answer your question, but I gotta do one in my head real quick. Just a minute. To say, when would I ever use this? If I had an expression that looked like this, and I needed to factor this, I've got to find out what multiplies by what to get this. Okay? And in order to do that, you're going to factor out, and you're going to factor out this expression, x plus 2 times x plus 2. This is down the road, very advanced from where we're at right now, okay? And so I'm going to stop right there because I don't want to lose everybody, including you, but I will answer it further for you privately. Okay? So don't even look at this one, guys. That's some of the stuff though where you're headed.
Oh.
It really is. That's Algebra 1. That's freshman year. Okay? But let's do with 7th grade, okay? 7th grade is good, right? Okay, now look at what this one says. Factor 1/2. So it doesn't want the GCF. It tells you to take out 1/2. Well, okay, so I'm going to divide this by 1/2, and I'm going to divide this by 1/2. We'll pull the 1/2 out. Well, what is 1/2 divided by 1/2?
1.
Do we divide by fractions?
No.
No. What do? Keep, change, flip. So 1/2 times 2 over 1 equals
1.
1. So when I get this one left behind, I have x. Do you agree? Okay. Well, what is 3/2 divided by 1/2?
2. 6. It would be
What do I do, John? Keep, change, flip. So this is what's left behind. Okay? Just because they've added, now, are you using calculators right now? You could have worked it out this way. Could you have put this in your calculator? And this is something that I don't know that everybody knows. Get your calculator. You need to know how to put a fraction in. Get a calculator. Get your calculators quickly. Take a seat. Let's talk.
What number is it?
Okay. Now, as long as you're doing this quietly, I can move forward, 7th grade. 7th grade, turn your voices off. Thank you. Okay. Now, if you have, which I think everybody does, the TI 30X 2S, which is what we use, if you look at the keys, do you see the DRG key in the top, on the top side? Follow that DRG down 2 keys, and you have one that says A and B over C, right? Okay, that's the key you need to know where it is. If you look at 3 halves, I am gonna turn it on first of all. I'm gonna put in a 3, and then I'm gonna push that A O B C key, and then I'm gonna put in the 2. And so it looks like this on your calculator. Looks like that. Everybody has that?
Yeah.
Then I want to divide, so I'm going to use my division key. And I'm going to divide by 1/2. So I'm going to use the 1 and then that same key, that A, B, C thing, and put a 2 under it. So it's going to look like this on my calculator. You got that when you look at the window? Press equal. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this isn't because I don't think you need to know how to multiply or divide by fractions, but it's because I know that you struggle with it, and because I want you to be successful, and I want to know that you can factor out a half. Now, I could have said I'm not dealing with fractions at all, because I look at this one, and I could have said, well, that means 0.5x or 5/10 x plus 1 and 5/10. And then I could have said I'm going to factor out 5/10. And I could have done it that way. Okay? Again, I got my calculator, and I could deal with it that way. Either way is acceptable. Showing the work, though, is showing me that you knew you needed to divide out the 1/2 by sticking it over here, and then giving me what's left. I know what you're doing, okay? So I'm telling you, in order to show your work on today's assignment, you have to write. The best thing to do is just write it right here, like I've said, divided by 1/2 there on both sides. That's showing your work, okay? And then you got the calculator, you use the calculator. All right? Okay, let's see if we're really all right. Factor -2 out. Okay, factor -2 out. So you do this one. And you got, do you know how to put the negative in for the -2?
Yes.
Bottom, on the gray keys, the bottom right key has a key that looks like this. That is a negative symbol. You use that if you want to use a negative key. Got it done? Good. Yeah. Good. So what I'm doing is I'm saying divide by -2, divide by -2. So I'm pulling the -2 out, and what is left behind? Drew, use your calculator. What is -4 divided by -2? And don't forget your variables. What is -4 divided by -2? Class?
2p.
2. So I've got 2p plus, what is 10 divided by -2? Jabin? -5. Good job. And I'm done. That's what I'm doing. Okay? I see some smiles. Kaden?
The -4p divided by -2, wouldn't that be just 1p?
What is 4 divided by 2?
2.
Is 2. Okay, and negative 4 divided by negative 2 is 2. Okay? All right. We're gonna, and here's what we're doing. We gotta match them up. Remember, I think when we started this unit, we did some matching on our essential question. Okay? So this says 12x plus 6. Which expression, A, B, or C, matches 12x plus 6? Oh, there's a D there too? There we go. A, B, C, or D. Which expression matches number 1? Reagan, I think you were first. Reagan says C. How do you know that, Reagan? Good. She said I did it this way. Found that greatest common factor and pulled it out. Could you go over here and say, do the distributive and say 12x plus 6 and found them that way? Either way, could we do it? Sure you could. So, which expression matches 12x minus 6? Which expression matches 12x minus 6? Darty.
B.
Darty says it's B. And if I go here, I know I've got 12x minus 6. I agree with Darty. Do you agree with me? Which expression is negative 12x minus 6? Which expression is equivalent to number 3? Trenton. Trenton says it's A. And I would rather just go up here and, now Trenton, this would be, I'm going to have to do this, aren't I, to be safe?
Yeah.
So I've got negative 12x plus 6. Is that the same as that? Won't work then, will it, Bubba? Can't be that one. So which one is equivalent to 3? Which one, Kenai? Has to be D. Trenton, if I'm a guessing person, you didn't change add opposite, did you? You got to. Okay? And so that makes number 4 as A. Everybody agree?
Yeah.
Question there, John?
If we have to do that opposite, how would be number 2?
How would this one be correct?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay?
That answers my question.
Fist of 5. How do you feel about factoring out? Feel okay? I want you to practice it a little. And that's where we have our assignment. Assignment, textbook page 93, 1 through 16. And then you need to be prepared because we're looking at taking a quiz over sections 3.1 and 3.2. Tomorrow. Yes. Yes, you may use the calculator. Now then, with that being said, I think you need to hear me.